Hi, I'm Will Snow, and this is Date with Tech in association with Launch Foundry, Below the Fold, and Trescon. Today we have Rajneel Kumar, COO of Rentify. Welcome.
Thanks, Will. Good to be here.
Great. So let's talk Rentify. I myself am a renter, being in Dubai only for 3 years. Tell me, how did you come by Rentify as a solution for the market?
So I'm a tech entrepreneur, and I founded a company before this, which was in the women health tech space, and I exited that last year. And I was looking for new problems to solve, things which resonated not only now, but things with all the changes that we see happening around with us with AI and the way that has made an impact across everything else. I wanted to focus on problems that will continue to be real problems over the next 20 years, which I think is a foreseeable future in the way that we see things. And it kind of came together. So I'm a renter. I've been renting in Dubai for 6 years, and I have gone through everything which a renter goes through, of trying to find the perfect apartment, then trying to get the perfect price and the number of checks and all of that. And after I had time to reflect upon everything, I think one of the things that you do as an entrepreneur is that how do I optimize? And you try to optimize on the money that you pay every month or that you need to lay out for just running your life. And all these questions start to come. Should I change the area that I stay into somewhere else? Should I downsize to a different apartment? Do I really need this much space? And that's where it really kind of came to me that, and I met my co-founder who had been working on the problem from a very different side. And we looked at it and said, this is a real problem. And if somebody's got to do something about it, we are very well suited to do something about it. And that's how the journey of Rentify started, and it's just been amazing.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's really identifying a pain point, a significant problem that a lot of us really face, So tell me a bit more about the solution. Obviously, there's a benefit here for the landlord as well as the renter.
So to put the solution in context, let me just walk you through what you may be very familiar with, is that after you like the perfect house that you would like to rent in the price range that you wanted, what happens after that? You have agreed on a price. The first thing is the landlords through the agents usually ask you for a single check, 2 checks, or if you're very lucky, 4 checks. And you're like, what? Okay, that's a lot of money that I need to write out on checks. And let's also face it, we are not used to writing out checks. No. And most of the time, for me personally, it came with telling my agent that, can you please write this out for me, because I don't want the bank to dishonor this because of my absolute rubbish handwriting, which my mother has never been proud of. So it starts from there, and then you give those checks out, and the third check in 9 months down, it is the 6 months down, it is presented at some time, maybe a little later than when the check had been written out, and you just have to hope and pray that it hits the bank when you have funds in that particular account, because you could have just moved the money around in other account for something else, and then if none of us want the check to be really dishonored. The other thing which when you're living in the apartment, you have a problem with your air conditioning. Suddenly, middle of the night, a pipe bursts and there's water all over your kitchen or your living room or something like that, and you want to find out what do I do and how do I solve for this. So you try to frantically start reaching out to your landlord and your tenant and saying that this is a problem, what do I do, this back and forth. So that's all these transactions and discussions and agreements have all happened so far over informal conversation platforms like WhatsApp or most likely WhatsApp if you're in the region. 100%. That's where all of this is happening. As a tenant, it's your most important problem, but think of it from the landlord's perspective. They would have possibly have 100 apartments. That's 100 tenants, with 100 tenants having problems maybe with their apartments. 100 tenants who have given 4 checks each, that's 400 checks that need to be deposited at exactly the same time. Not exactly the same time, at different times. Those lease agreements need to be done, which is again a process. And also we know that rents are increasing constantly here, and people give the option to the tenants that would you like to accept the new rent or would you like to move out? By law, it has to be given specifically 90 days before. And if you miss that window, then you can't really move the tenant out by law. So then the tenant would stay at the old one. So all of this are manual interventions that need to be done to solve a problem. And all of this is really what Rentify really solves. The entire workflow around renting the apartment after you've decided the apartment you want, the payments to be made, getting in all the digital platforms to be able to do that. The other big advantage that we bring in is that it's a rent now, pay later platform. So we pay the landlords in advance while the tenants pay on a monthly monthly basis. So all those number of checks, etc., they don't really matter. You can put in the payment instrument that you want. You also have the flexibility of changing that. If your bank account changes or one particular month you want to use a credit card to pay the rent for that particular month, you can do all of that.
Amazing.
So that's really Rentify.
So I see it more of really taking over the gap in the communication between the tenant and the landlord. Like you said, it happens a lot on informal channels, but it's put it all in one place, really centralized it, making it a hell of a lot easier to manage. Makes
Absolutely.
sense. And I also see, like, as a tenant, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because, sometimes people don't get geysers repaired and things like that. And then there's always an argument between the landlord and the tenant. So, it makes a lot of sense. I think it solves a lot of problem for a lot of people. And like I say, communication is always one of the critical components of human beings, right? Absolutely. So that's very well positioned. And you've obviously scaled businesses in the past as an entrepreneur. Where do you see Rentify going, from where you are right now? Does it scale across the Gulf? What does that look like?
We look at it from a macro perspective, and we are at the very early stages of starting what we have. We have a very large portfolio of apartments already on our platform, but it's a drop in the ocean of what we're trying to address. Just to give some perspective, last year there were about over 350,000 Ijaris for residential properties which were done in Dubai alone. The overall population for UAE is between 10 to 11 million and growing. At 2030, it's going to hit a significant number after that. And as we also know, a large population of this is a population which has come into the country, the expat population, and most likely they're all renting. So that's the size of just the number of scale that we are solving for. If we look at the macros, we're talking about a 24 billion market annually, which is a rental market that we're addressing only in UAE. And if you look at entire GCC, that's somewhere that is onboarded already, and we are good to start rolling out.
Great. Do you have a sneak peek at that release date for us for the app?
Well, never ask a tech person when exactly are you releasing, because we always leave, some wriggle room for last minute fixes that need to be done. But it's good to say that in the next few weeks we will be
fantastic.
Alive.
I'm sure the developers will be really grateful that you gave that answer.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. And I think starting these ventures, right, it takes a certain personality, it takes a certain level of resilience, bravery, courage. For you as a person, what is maybe one of the toughest moments you've had launching this particular initiative?
That's a very interesting question. Putting life in perspective and going behind saying that this is the problem I wanted to solve. The conviction. Many great leaders have spoken about lots of things about businesses that they build, and they always say that stay true to what really you want to change and make an impact with. Otherwise, you may want to do a legal startup, or you may want to do a marketing startup, or do something around the way baby food is done. But if you don't resonate with the problem and don't feel strongly about it, there will come a point where there will be a breaking point, and you'll be the first person, or probably one of the people who just give up. So finding the purpose in the problem that you are solving for and resonating very deeply, and accepting internally that yes, this is the problem that means a lot to me, that I want to be behind, was probably the most important part of the journey.
Yeah, I find we've got such a short amount of time on this earth, right? And really finding something that resonates with you as purpose and something for you to solve is, I think it's critical to many of our existence. I mean, I often find that people really struggle to find that purpose, but I'm a strong believer on putting the time aside and just working often with like a coach or a mindset coach to help you get to that point.
I didn't have a mindset coach, but on that, after I exited last year, I started to do something which I had not been doing despite living here for so long, because before this I used to run a team which was very global. I mean, we are still global now, but very global across 13 countries, different time zones. That's how the last startup was. But what that meant for you personally, for me, was you were in a laptop, in a room, 24/7, not 24. So that's the first thing I did. I said that, I'm going to spend the next few months. I don't know where this journey will take me, but I want to meet a lot of people, have endless cups of coffee, have conversations which probably will have absolutely no outcome, but just have conversations and get to know about people. And that kind of helped me center into I wanted to do, a startup again, which was a very important choice to be made.
A very big decision, for sure.
And the second was that arriving at the point that what really resonated amongst all that I was seeing happening around me.
Well, I'm sure the coffee outlets all did very well off of you. But I hear what you're saying. Dubai and the UAE, larger UAE, and the region really, it's a fascinating place where there's a lot of actual enablement happening for us. And if you just have the courage to just go knock on doors and talk to people, I think your life and your perspective just gets that much bigger.
Incredible. It's just incredible. And in such a concentrated area, to have such great people from across the world living right next to you or up for a conversation, it's amazing.
Amazing. So I think I just want to kind of pivot into the data side of things here.
Sure.
Now, I think you're very uniquely positioned in the industry for what you're doing. How are you guys planning to maybe utilize the data? Is there room for, property estate agents? How do you see that playing out?
Great. A great question, because first of all, data is very important for us in the way we collect it, the way we store it, the way we secure it, and that data, at the very first, it resonates very deeply with what all Rentify is about. One of the things we haven't spoken about is that as we set out our 20-year vision of where we wanted to go, so as not to get swayed into saying into people asking us questions like, are you going to do mortgages, are you going to do resale of apartments, are you going to become a listing site? We wanted to lay down what are our core principles on which we are building this business, and that's where we define the 3 T's that would be central to our entire journey. The 3 T's, the first one is tech first. We are not going to put just humans behind solving problem. We're going to use the best of technology to be able to do it, and though we speak about it a little much, but maybe not too much, we have built the entire platform with a very, very lean team, because we are at the cutting edge of using AI to enhance the humans to be able to build all of that.
Yeah.
That's the first. So tech first for every problem to be solved, so it's scalable and can grow fast. One is transparency. Because we are an extremely customer obsessed and customer first organization, we want to always have a transparency. What is the amount of charges that you're paying? What is the charge for with everything that is happening on the platform? Because that's the other thing which people are really scared about with everything around real estate. How much I'm gonna be
absolutely
slapped with. And that starts even with just onboarding, saying, okay, if I have to pay for this apartment and it's not an annual rent, but I will pay monthly, how much do I pay? So we have built in the entire technology to be able to do the risk assessment, risk profile, and come with that, etc. So that's tech first, transparency, and the last one is trust. Build a brand which is trustable and stay forward. So all the data that's coming for us, the first immediate output for that is our users. On one side, we got the landlords. On the other side, we got the tenants. How do we use data to make it better? As we were speaking about a little bit, and maybe not too much, was that for everything that you do on the platform, there are points that you get, which are part of our rental rewards program of Rentify. With these points, we have created a curated partnership with partners across things like house cleaning, nanny services, drivers, maybe now, eating places. So everything around lifestyle and travel are the areas that we are focused on. And so if you have a large number of partners, what are the things we know? Where does a user stay? What are the preferences that they have shown of exploring or purchasing any of these services? How do we recommend the customized things for it? So being able to use the same data to make the fit with the points that they earn for better utilizing it across all of that and discovering becomes the first real use case where it is there.
Amazing. I think first thing, the triple T model, that's something you should probably publish, because I think that could be utilized elsewhere. But also being in 2025, having the ability to build a business like this, I think it's incredible how you are putting technology first, customers first, and then obviously transparency. They really core to everything, and maybe not what was possible years ago, right? So I feel like that's probably helped accelerate your business as well. Fantastic. I think just really a last question. We could probably talk about this all day.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that you've brought loyalty into this, and I think that's a modern day kind of piece for a platform. What is one kind of piece that you would part onto fellow entrepreneurs, young leaders up and coming, for what they want to do with their lives?
I think amongst all of the literature out there about what should entrepreneurs do and what are the right things to do, and we have very many greats who have walked around us, I think what resonates for me, and I would say that that's something that they should always look at and enhance it, is to have a positive outlook. And I think that is something not many people speak about, that have an optimistic, positive outlook. The world is trying to get you down. Everywhere you look, somebody is bigger than you, somebody's raised more money than you, somebody is moving faster than you, somebody is kind of saying that what segment you're focused on is not the right one. But you have to intrinsically stay extremely optimistic and positive. If you resonate with that, you'll handle everything else really well.
Neil, to be honest with you, I've never had that answer in any of my interviews, so I really appreciate that, and I think our viewers and our listeners are going to really take that to heart, and yeah, let's get them out there changing the world as well.
Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.